We are Squawking Dead, a podcast polarizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news. Sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep.
You need to do that again, but happier.
We are Squawking Dead, podcast polarizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news. Sometimes we make you laugh. But most times, we go deep. You happy? You made the monkey dance. Jasmine.
I didn't mean like that. Can you do it again, but like in between?
We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh, but most times we go deep. I'm your host, David Cameo, and I'm joined by Cosmom09, Rachel Burt, Sharon D.A.K. Blazy Gardner, and Jasmine.IAC on Instagram. She hates it when I do that. Sort of, a little. Today we're talking about the 13th episode of The Walking Dead, Season 11, titled Warlords. Yeah, and we're here again. We just recorded episode 11-12 yesterday. That was the lucky ones. And today's basically the not so lucky ones. Episode 13, Booga Booga. I think the general consensus is that we're largely semi-underprepared, mentally speaking. I think we're just about as prepared as we could be, having just recorded yesterday. But I'm glad to see Rachel back again. Hi, how you doing?
Hi.
They said how you're doing. How are you
how
doing?
am I doing? I'm doing well.
Yeah. What took you away from us yesterday?
My parents throw a St. Patrick's Day party every year, and yesterday happened to be the day of their party. So I was drinking heavily.
I saw that Eric was serving the drinks. Was that true?
Yes. Yep. My husband bartended in the Burnside Scots Irish pub. Yeah.
You have to say it that way, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Scots Irish pub.
The Scots Irish pub.
What was he dressed as?
A bishop. He had a hat, but it didn't fit his head, so
Why?
So we had to skip the hat.
Actually worn it.
I know, right? I'm like, I could cut it. I could cut it, and then we could duct tape it to your head. I'm like, come on, if the drag queens can do it, you can do it.
Just put one of those birthday party straps.
What about staples?
Yeah. Oh, he's had staples in his head, so we totally could have done that.
He's like used to it.
He is.
You had an adorable little leprechaun hanging out too.
I did. My son dressed up like a leprechaun. He hated every second of it, but he did it anyway.
He was adorable.
Yeah.
He would have a change of attitude if he actually saw the movies. Did he see the movies? Leprechaun movies?
He has not. Yeah, he probably would have been doing that the whole time if he had seen the movies.
Yeah, honey, see, I'm doing you a favor.
People.
Enter Leprechaun movie. This is so cool. I didn't know the Irish had such a frightening character. They don't. That's cultural appropriation, son. They wanted. Okay. Well, let's talk about failings.
I thought you said failings.
Overall. Let's talk about failings in this episode. Let's be like other Walking Dead podcasts. How did you guys feel about this episode, or have you not been able to process it? Let's start with Rachel, because she's been gone.
Oh, okay.
She abandoned us.
So I'm like, I have half feelings, and then the other half, I definitely do need to give it another couple of watches. I did like it. A lot of good nuggets in there. And after Sharon D and I kind of talked about it more, and I understand the time jumps and everything a little bit better, I actually really appreciate the way that they did that too, because we see a story and then later we find out, oh, it's not exactly what we think it is. So now we think we know what the story is. And then they flip it over again and they're like, ha ha ha, just kidding. There's more information you need to know. So it really drew me in, and I'm like, oh.
I thought it was a lot like One More from season 10, partly because of the Gabriel-Aaron pairing, but also the Warlord Ian was almost reminiscent of Maze. Even at the very beginning, when it had a shot of the field, the first thing I thought of was when Aaron and Gabriel came up on the field in One More and they threw the alarm clock out there to raise all the walkers. But of course, these walkers were already moving. But I just had that feeling through the whole episode. And One More is one of my favorite episodes. So I really,
ever?
Yeah, I love that episode so much. Speaking of One More, they had the whiskey at the end. It wasn't the same whiskey, of course, but
right. It was Dwayne Jones whiskey.
Right, the whiskey
Morgan
featured
Jones' son.
Right, the whiskey featured heavily in this episode, just like it did in in one more. So overall, I really liked it, and I liked the timey-wimey stuff. I really liked that, especially after I went back and watched it a couple of times and figured out exactly what was going on. But that was kind of reminiscent to me of the entirety of season 4A of Fear, where you were jumping around, you know, and they kind of told you this was before, this was after, but it just had that same kind of feel where they were just jumping around in time, and you were seeing all the different aspects of the stories from different points of view and stuff.
And would you say this episode was a thinker or not?
It's hard to say because I haven't really had time to think about it.
Fair point.
I really enjoyed this episode, but on my first watch through, I was like, wow, what's going on? Like, everything was, like, so intense, and it literally, like, got to, like, the end of the episode, and I was like, it's over? It, like, felt so fast, the episode. Mm-hmm. And then on my second watch through, like, I was kind of getting to, like, try and, like, understand and piece together things. But what I really loved about this episode was, one, the character of Carlson, because he's just, like, absolutely crazy. But you get to see, like, throughout the episode, the little
Tells.
little tells that he's crazy, but also, like, he gradually gets more and more crazy.
But in a different, horrifying way.
Yeah, but, like, in a way that you're like, yo, this character is so cool. Like, I want to see more of him.
I thought that too. That's it. But, like, I felt guilty feeling that way. Like, oh, he's probably going to kill our people. But, man, I hope he sticks around.
Yeah, and it kind of solidified, like, the Commonwealth as actually being bad. Because up until this point, like, we're getting, like, little nuggets, suggestions of corruption, and obviously, like, the class divide is a problem, generally speaking. But, like, we finally revealed that, like, what Lance is doing does kind of make him a bad guy. But up until now, I've kind of had, like, mixed feelings on it.
Right, okay, let's hone in on that, and then we can make our way. But what about Lance in this episode makes him a bad guy?
So obviously, he's just kind of decided that he's going to take out this whole community of 40 people without really much kind of background or opportunity to, like, reason. He obviously knows this Carson guy is a little bit off the rails, and he still kind of sends him in and is just like, yeah, let's just wipe these people out, they're a problem, rather than kind of reasoning or finding out a bit more information.
But he has a reason.
I feel like he's panicking, though. I don't feel like this is the kind of thing he would normally do, like just on the spur of the moment decide to off this entire group. But I think the fact that Pamela is about to find out something else, he's got this other side gig going on, whatever it is that we don't know, unless he's talking about the opium, because they didn't really allude to that or whatever. But what she's going to find out about this side gig, and it's going to jeopardize the plans he's got for Alexandria and the other communities, and she's going to be pissed off at him. So I think he's panicking, and the only thing he can think to do is to get it over quickly, and that's just take these people out and get his stuff back without having to get Pamela involved. I'm not sure that's something he would normally do.
Okay,
right. So whatever the side gig is, do we know what the side gig is, though? Or are you articulating a specific side gig?
No, the only thing I can think is it might be he says, I sent resources to the other thing, which he didn't say what it was. And so it might be the opium fields, maybe? I don't know, but that's the only thing I can think of.
It seems like the most important resource that's on that caravan, which got hijacked, was the guns.
Yeah,
right?
I don't see him necessarily selling guns to the opium fields. I feel like it's more likely something a little bit more serious.
Yeah, I'm getting the sense that is the case as well. And again, there's no way of telling what that thing is, at least as far as I can tell. If anybody has any ideas or concrete thoughts.
Maybe Lance is trying to build his own side army.
That's kind of what I was
he's
thinking.
Siphoning guns.
He's like building a cache, let's say, or cache, as some people say, of weapons. And soldiers, maybe. I don't know. Or hiding them away somewhere for later use. I don't know. But other than that, we really don't know. What we discover in this episode is that all this time Lance thinks it's that religious group that hijacked the caravan. That clearly, they don't know who hit the caravan. Nobody really does. But we do have some people in the ether that don't appear on this episode. I had a thought that it might have been Leah that hit the caravan. Now, the only wrinkle in this thought process is there are 3 separate tracks that lead to the caravan or scatter away from the caravan. One definitely is this religious group. We saw the caravan. We noticed it was already hijacked or demolished or something. Fine. And then there's the guilty party, and then there's another set of tracks. Or maybe we can clarify. Does anybody have any thoughts on that first?
I don't know who it could be, but I was a little confused when he Ian said, oh, we found it like that, so we just took the stuff. Like, whoever initially attacked the caravan, why didn't they take all the goods? And if they didn't want the things, what was the purpose for the attack?
I don't think they took anything from the empty caravan, though. I don't think that religious group did, at least.
Yeah, I think the religious group just kind of saw it, was like, ooh, is there anything here? And then kind of was like, oh, there isn't.
Right.
Left.
And there wasn't anything there, so they moved on.
I mean,
whoever hit it originally, it took everything, including
That's
the
exactly the words he used.
Yeah.
It was already hit. So what about the thoughts about Leah Shaw? Because she's still in the wind. Between the throat slashes on the soldier, which I'm convinced is...
That was the... Yeah, well, wasn't it the lady? It was the lady, not
Annie?
Negan. Is that her name? It was her. I think that was that soldier.
The woman with Negan?
Yeah, the woman with Negan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of the 3 Commonwealth soldiers that Maggie meets on the road, or Maggie almost hits on the road. I know I'm bouncing around here, but all this might make a little bit more sense based on what some of the things that Ian says kind of alludes to. We've met cannibals. It's like, why couldn't it have been the pharaohs that attacked the caravan? They were really clever in trapping Connie and Virgil. You know, putting down signs, putting them back up again so that they would get misdirected or whatnot.
Yeah, but to like slash their throat, because obviously we saw Connie and Virgil like fight them, and they weren't necessarily like that good at fighting. Like if you had a gun, you could take a feral out.
Well, unless the soldiers that were left in the road, but the caravan itself from a week ago is basically what happened. You know, caravan got hit, and then, because again, we're playing with time just a bit. Lance sets out on this mission to actually murk these religious people out based on the fact that it was hit by somebody, and he suspects it's them since it was nearby that location. And he alludes to the fact that we've met cannibals and we met all these people, and you know they were wolves in sheep's clothing, but apparently he's murked out some of these pharaohs, I guess, who, scarily enough, if that's the case, they know how to act like normal enough people to get by and sit in that chair for him to chop their heads off and whatnot. So that's frightening. Oh, that's like a deeper level than what we've been told and shown by Maggie and in the show. So, yeah, it's like sends shivers down my spine to think that that's what the world is like out there.
I mean, we've seen cannibals that are not pharaohs as well. So it could just be a normal group. Well, normal.
Could be, what's his name?
Gareth.
Yeah.
Gareth. Guys like it could be Gareth's.
Right. And he is quite charming. I mean, he has an innocent enough looking face, and he can put on the show that people want to see. You know what I mean? He could sit in that chair and be pretty convincing. So there could be someone just like him still out there in the world, still eating people.
Andrew J. West. Yeah, I'd hit that. What? Anyway. It's a pretty dude. What? Just like Carlson. I mean, look, I like Bad Boys.
He's got a look to him. I'm not mad at his face.
Yeah. He's definitely one of those veteran B actors. I forgot to get his name.
Jason Butler Harner.
Who played Ian?
Ian, as a character, I thought was really interesting because when we first see him, like, he's super intimidating, right? And so they want us to see this scary bad guy. But, you know, then he starts talking and sharing his experiences and, like, all these people that have come to offer help. And it's like, you understand why he's so untrusting. You know what I mean? Like, he's actually being really smart and cautious around these people that he doesn't know. Like, he's actually a pretty good leader, you know, for his people. So I did feel bad for Ian in the end. Yeah.
I think he's the flip side of Maggie, because neither of them trust the Commonwealth.
Or like a mirror, maybe even? He's kind of acting the same,
maybe that's what I meant, more a mirror. But it's also a warning about what could become of Maggie if she doesn't fall into line, which is why they sent Daryl there.
That's interesting. In the 6 months later scene from episode 9.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That could be why they sent Daryl there.
In his armor this time. Mm-hmm. Send a message. Unlike the last episode where he was out of armor to send her a message. So, we're friends. Yeah. See, look, Daryl's still in his white trash outfit. So, okay.
I see where Maggie's coming from. I understand her perspective on keeping everybody safe and stuff. But at the same time, I also understand what Lydia's saying, too. Lydia's saying, you know, let the people decide what we want to do. Like, you're pretty much just making decisions for everyone right now, Maggie. And not everyone is agreeing with you. So, yes, you're doing what you feel is right. But everyone in a community kind of has to agree on that, don't you think?
An observation we actually made yesterday. It's looking more like a Rick-tatorship. And what's the one leader that wasn't mentioned as part of the leaders whom she followed? Maggie.
Exactly.
Rick.
Yeah.
It's a magtatorship.
Hat tip
But
to
she's
Charity
acting
on that
just
one.
like him right now.
Our powers combine. Captain Planet. Captain Dictatorship.
The drought story. Okay, Maggie, I get the point of the drought story, okay? But this drought's lasted 12 years. I think you need to move on because this drought is not ending.
This is just the way life is now.
Yeah, which illustrates a big thing, which is you can use the same playbook for only so long when you realize, okay, hell is repetition. The dictionary definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Which, okay, she kind of says something in the beginning, though, that alludes to, like, maybe we shouldn't be helping people. Kind of like where Michonne was at Alexandria post Rick leaving. Like, maybe we shouldn't help people. Maybe, maybe I should change that part of our playbook. Like, is to not help people. Because our resources, just like Pamela said in the last episode, our resources are already spread thin, so you want to spread them thinner by helping people that we can't afford to help, which I kind of liked. This episode really nicely jumps from the last episode to this one also, which even that last episode jumped nicely from the episode prior, which I commented on at the beginning of the last episode. It didn't leave us hanging. Everything seems to be flowing nicely, which is kind of like anti what we usually see in these ensemble episodes, which is in the next episode, let's just go straight to this other group of people we forgot. No, I mean, we practically figured out where Negan was based on the comings and goings of this story. So it's not like we had to go somewhere completely different. He happened to be there. Like a little bonus that we get, little cherry on top.
Watching yet another community he cares about fall. Well, he may not be leading this time, but it's still happening.
Which I think he's glad to not have to lead, especially at this moment in time. And even then, like, he's following this woman who, again, the second in command formula, right? Like, if anything at all, this woman seems to be the new leader at this point. Is that fair to say? And he's just willing and happy to follow her. Kind of like he was a little bit Maggie in the mid-season premieres and stuff. Look, he likes leaders. But he's got a thing.
Maggie coming after
Happy
her
about
mans.
it? Was he happy about it though?
Oh, happy about what?
Because
Having somebody else lead or what?
No, having to follow Maggie and like in the premieres, like you were just saying, he wasn't happy about being there. He tried to leave every chance he got.
Well, as soon as it stopped being fun. Right?
When was it fun?
I mean, he was like, oh, as long as she's making these decisions, like, oh, as long as I get out of here alive. And it's like, oh, I'm not getting out of here alive, so I'm a bounce. No. You stay there with the Alden grave. I'm good. I'll just go now. Thanks. No, none for me. No revenge for me. But okay, so the answer to the question we had yesterday about, like, why the fuck, Maggie? Why aren't you just going to accept help? Was in that car ride, though. And we needed to hear it. We needed to hear a little bit more rationale, because sometimes, and this is like what everybody says on the Twitters and the social medias. Oh, Maggie's being a dumb bitch. And like, okay, slow down, buddy. I didn't say it. Somebody else, probably. And why do you think stupidly, Maggie? Are you supposed to know better, Maggie? Like, well, this is her rationale. Her experience is her rationale. Imagine somebody who's been traumatized by years and years and years of communities falling, for starters. This is the recent history. And then having that story in her back pocket about her father's pride. About like sticking to his guns, sticking things through, getting by until you pass a difficult situation. Well, yeah, of course. So I get it. Is this something Rick would have done? Maybe, actually. Had Rick been around, you got this little spirit of Rick in Maggie, even though she probably would hate hearing that. Maybe, I don't know. So I get it. It's the answer at least, and even if it's not a good answer to have, it's an answer, and which is what the episode is supposed to tell us. In that moment, I kind of had even more respect, because I still respected her, just like Elijah did. I still had respect for her decision, even though I don't think it was the right one. We alluded to that also, yes, in the last episode too.
I at least understood where Maggie was coming from. Like, I understand her perspective, but like you just said, I don't agree with it. I still think it's the wrong call.
That's kind of how I feel. Like,
as I said yesterday, I was there with Maggie. I was like,
Yeah.
I wish I could make that decision, but I probably wouldn't. I didn't need that, personally.
Elijah said, the cows were hungry. She's like, yeah, but we made it through it. Yeah, but cows don't revolt and destroy your town because they're hungry.
They're beasts of burden.
I mean, people and cows are different.
Cows aren't going to kill each other.
Right,
for-
right.
Just gonna
like,
moo
they're not going to
weakly.
Yeah. They're not going to
Right.
eat each other because they're so hungry.
Well, you've never seen it before, so you don't know if it happened.
cannibal cows.
That'd be new.
Lydia's right, though, in that she should have consulted other people and not making the decision for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was the main thing that we put a finger on in the last episode. Like, with everybody whispering in our ear saying, hey, it's not so bad. Okay, but well, why don't we ask the better question as a result of this episode? After everything that transpires in this episode, because some of us here, I haven't said a thing. Some of us had said, well, Jasmine specifically, that this is what makes the Commonwealth a little bad. Or bad. I don't know. Is the Commonwealth bad? So after this episode, is Maggie more right to have?
I don't see that as the
let's say?
Commonwealth action. That was a Lance action. Well, but he's not the entire Commonwealth. There are a lot of people in the Commonwealth that aren't getting shit on by Lance.
But if Lance has as much power as he does to be able to do these things, then that is a part of what the Commonwealth is. Whether Pamela knows about it, whether it's supposed to be like that is another thing. I don't disagree that it's a Lance thing, but given the fact that Lance has so much power, it becomes a Commonwealth thing.
If that's how the Commonwealth runs, though, it's like, oh, Commonwealth, fueled by Lance. Like, you know, those advertisements?
They could have decided to fuck over Alexandria and Oceanside and Hilltop because they decided not to join him. They could have done it right then. They were so weak, they could have wiped Alexandria out in a second. But they didn't. They were
Right.
trying to bring them in. This other group, even though we know that they didn't do anything, or we suspect that they didn't do anything, they don't see that. And like I said, I think that's Lance panicking. I don't think that's something he would normally do under the guise of the Commonwealth. So while I'm not saying the Commonwealth doesn't do bad shit, but what group in this entire universe hasn't done bad shit of some kind in order to stay alive? So I wouldn't say they're bad. I would say they get shit done, and sometimes you have to do bad things.
Which does actually go back to Gabriel's sermon at the beginning of this episode, too, because he talks about sinners, and we've all sinned. We've all had to do things in order to survive, which does kind of put an interesting umbrella on even the I would say the Commonwealth's action, but it really isn't the Commonwealth. It's really Lance taking control of a specific situation, really. Because even like in the last episode, I think Aaron says, I forget who he's trying to convince, but he was saying that at least 90 or 99% of them are good people. So how are we to judge the Commonwealth based on first of all, who's in charge, but second of all, on a minority of people, let's say, which is something really interesting to bring in to our day-to-day lives. How or why will we judge a whole based on a few as a group? I kind of like that. Which is kind of great when we start to analyze this series in particular, because we have to judge the merits. We have to judge the value of the Commonwealth based on an intricate series of value-based propositions, right? Yes, the Commonwealth is run by Lance effectively. And this is the question. Wouldn't you say that this almost answers the question that we had asked basically every episode? Would it be better if Lance was running the Commonwealth or Pamela? Because I'm thinking to myself, and I'll start first, is that Pamela would not have done that. Pamela would not have done what Lance had done. Pamela would have probably left, and because we know from the last episode, Pamela would have probably just left well enough alone. I have enough troubles inside these walls to deal with to not cause and create bigger problems outside these walls. It doesn't matter that they got all these guns, let's say. They don't know where we live. And even if they do know where we live, we have the resources to take them out. So leave well enough alone. They need bullets too, by the way. So when they run out of bullets, those guns are useless.
But perhaps if Lance wasn't under Pamela, then he might not have made such a rash decision on the matter.
Could be. Could very well be.
He was panicking because he didn't want her to find out about whatever his side thing is. So I definitely agree with that. Maybe he wouldn't have made that decision otherwise.
If he was in charge and had no one to answer to, he might have, gone about things in a different way, or maybe left it alone entirely.
Even if they don't know where they live or whatever, those people with guns in their hands, an unknown entity of people, you don't know who they are, you don't know what they're capable of, there's a lot of them. They're still a threat to anybody traveling, or the opium fields, if they stumble on that or whatever, they're still a threat, even if the threat doesn't last long. So, I can also see why Lance would want to take them out, aside from Pamela finding out. We, having seen them now, know maybe they're not. But that guy wasn't particular, he had heads on his fucking wall, skulls of people that presumably they murdered. So I'm not saying he was the best guy either. So, they could have still been a threat, even though it wouldn't have been a big one.
Throughout this whole episode, I kept thinking Carlson is like this dark version of Aaron. At least now. It seemed like he really, really enjoyed this outreach program. It really tickled his fancy. Like he was somebody that was in the CIA, but in the I would say the Walking Dead formula, but it's really the Commonwealth formula. It allowed him to be, for the privileged few who get this chance in the Commonwealth, having this position of outreach allowed him to be this better person, which he embraced. This Zen mantra person. The Commonwealth is the self you were meant to be, ? So that really worked for him. And he really enjoys this job. He really genuinely enjoys this job. But the second, they pulled him back, he just, like, it's something else we said maybe a couple episodes ago, like, what does it mean to survive? Or is it possible to re-civilize? And I had said something to the effect of, well, people do tend to go back to their same tracks if given the chance. And he fell into those tracks again of being that CIA operative, let's say. Well, I'm not saying this is everybody, but it seemed very apparent that he just kind of fell back into that role, down to, like, not being able to avoid the booze, something that he brought with him. I mean, 'cause maybe knowing himself that he would need this if things got tough. Because bottles of Kentucky bourbon don't magically show up. He brought it with him. Or he could have found it, fair enough. It reminds me of the moment when Toby Carlson shoots Ian, that last moment. I see Aaron's face get, like, really mad, but I also thought to myself, Aaron must be thinking right now, what if Rick's group hadn't been as good to him as they weren't? I was thinking, like, what if that was him and Rick's group had a Carlson? Like, this is how it could have gone down. And I was just thinking to myself, because we all thought that when Aaron, who seemed like, whatever, stranger danger, but at the same time, look at it from his point of view. Like, he went in there not knowing what Bushbeard Rick was going to do, and it could have been that. And that's what I thought in that moment. It's not a strange thing to think of in this episode. You have hints of, in Gabriel's sermon, he mentions the word, for some reason that stuck out with me. He said he mentioned the word try, and it lingered just a little bit. And of course, there's an episode called Try, which was, I didn't write down the exact episode. It was written by Angela Kang and directed by Michael Satrazemis, where one of Deanna Monroe's kids dies, and the walls behind Alexandria might fall. And guess who the threat was? The wolves.
Season 5, episode 15.
Thank you. The fight between Rick and Pete Anderson. Michonne knocks right out. Me? And then Michonne knocks him out. So, like, yeah, this is like is this place safe? And so I just thought that was kind of cool. There were strangers in a strange land, Israelites. There's a lot of the Israelites coming to Canaan in this episode, and who is whom in this scenario. What do you guys think about Negan showing up all of a sudden and having been a part of this group this whole time? And also this particular group who seem to be religious, but what does that say about Negan?
I mean, we know Negan can play the part. I mean, he did it with the Whisperers, and I mean, it's got to be better than being on his own. They seem to like him okay. He didn't seem to have any drama with any of them, and nobody there knows his past. He doesn't have Maggie staring him down constantly like she wants to stick him with the crowbar. So, it's probably a little relaxing. It's like, oh, finally I can breathe again, But like, even in Alexandria, people there knew what he did, so, he never really had a chance. So here he can start over. I'm interested to know, like, geographically where all this is going on, because, I mean, it's been a couple of months and he has to have been there for a while.
So you mean the apartment complex itself?
Right. Are they somewhere in between our communities and...
So, I looked at the map Jesse gave to Maggie, and I looked up, like, the little, like, towns on it. They're on the border between Ohio and West Virginia. The apartment complex is kind of, like, in between these two, like, small cities. There isn't a real apartment complex, because, like, I checked, but you can see on the map, like, where it is.
Is the Riverbend where it's circled? I think that's where the apartment complex is, which doesn't seem very far away from where Hilltop is.
Is Hilltop in West Virginia?
No, but it still falls within Virginia. But it's
well,
just
man,
very
they
close
must
to
be.
So it's
they're in between the Commonwealth and our settlements.
they're like basically like theoretically like right in the middle.
So they're like Maggie, and they're ranging really far away from Hilltop. Then I mean, it just seems like it's a really long distance.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a long distance from the other settlements.
Are they still, like, Lance and everybody's still at the Alexandria camps, or have they gone back to the Commonwealth, and this was, like, ranging out from the Commonwealth, so Aaron's at the Commonwealth now? That's what I'm trying to figure out. When did Aaron go to the Commonwealth?
Yeah, so, because obviously it's on the border of Ohio, and we don't know exactly where the Commonwealth is. So it could be pretty near the West Virginia border, or it could be further into Ohio, like, we don't really know. So it could theoretically be quite close to the Commonwealth. But it's definitely quite far away from, like, Alexandria, Hilltop.
Rachel knows where the Commonwealth is because of Dover Hills. See, I don't forget shit.
I can. Wait, where is it?
Closer to Toledo, is that possible?
Dover Township. It's kind of northern Ohio.
Oh, wow, then it's actually only about 50 miles away.
So Dover Township is a real place, but the city listed on the invoice that Carol finds, that's not a real place. So
Right.
that's why Dover Township was my best guess.
Okay, well, the distance between this apartment complex and Dover Township is like approximately 50 miles.
Okay.
And by car journey,
Forget by car. Kidding.
Well, there's no by horse and carriage on Google Maps.
Yes, there is. Okay. Just do bicycle.
So by car journey, it's about an hour and 20 minutes.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And obviously, if it's right between the communities, there's reason enough that they would be passing through there.
But Maggie would be at Hilltop. I mean, they were at Hilltop, so I mean, where is Hilltop in relation to the apartment complex?
Do we know approximately where Hilltop is?
I think the apartment complex is that place that Negan circles at the river bend, which I'm showing the map right now in the edited version. But so there's a circle around where it says river bend, and I think that's where the apartment complex is, which isn't terribly far away from where Hilltop is supposed to be.
Where is Hilltop supposed to be?
On the
For
map?
reference.
So do you have the map flipped over? It's on the top right if you flipped it over. It actually says Hilltop.
What? I can't see it.
Then you don't have a good screen grab.
I do.
It's along the highway, the interstate, actually, at the top right.
Okay.
Do you see it?
So
Okay.
Hilltop's not that far
No,
away.
this is assuming that the circle where Negan circles, where it says Riverbend, is where the apartment complex is. Because there's no other indicator of where you are here right now, Jesse, who didn't get shot yet, but will get shot in a couple seconds. Unless I'm mistaken, and I looked at the map hastily. I probably didn't because it was near the beginning, I don't know, middle of the episode.
I think the circle's supposed to represent where the apartment complex is.
So it's not that far from
So
Hilltop.
it's not actually that far away.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all of that to say what?
I was just trying to figure out what the geographical logistics were, like how they were going so far, because I had the impression that the Commonwealth was several days' journey away, according to the journey that Eugene and then Princess and Ezekiel and Yumiko took. It took them
That could
a while
still
to
be,
get there.
because
So I
it
was
took them
just
at
trying to
least.
figure out
It took them about a week to get there anyway. Remember, it was a week prior, and then it wasn't. So.
And then that was from Alexandria as well, correct?
Right, that was from Alexandria.
But
Right.
can we also assume that they like kind of told, like, they didn't tell them like exactly which direction to go, like they sent them a little bit out the way
Roundabout.
before picking them up at the train yard?
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
around the long
no.
way?
Oh, you have to remember that the rail yard was not anywhere near the Commonwealth. We had deduced over time, obviously, that let's just pretend that this is a triangle, that a straight line between the Commonwealth and Alexandria would have been one thing, but I think they met further south. So at a triangular point where they both had equidistant way of getting there, let's say. So nobody would know where either of them would be.
Yeah, and then also they were traveling on horse and stuff, so it's gonna take
And bicycles. So yeah.
a while. Like I clicked on Google Maps and I said like how long would it be if you walked, and it was like a long way. Also, they went up to Pittsburgh to see Princess, right?
I believe so.
That's where they
Pittsburgh,
met
Pennsylvania.
Princess. Well, that's like way out of the way of
Yeah.
of both the Commonwealth and.
I was never sure where they picked up Princess, though. I thought it was in
Oh,
and around.
I thought it was Pittsburgh. That's
I
also
think
the nearest city, so like the nearest big city.
Pittsburgh was where the last group she was with left her, right?
Right.
Isn't that the reference we got?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, either way, looking at like big cities, like they would have definitely had to go out of their way to get to a big city to meet Princess. So it definitely wasn't like a straight shot.
No, I don't think so either. Anyway, because of your explanation, Charity, when you'd said it looks like he's just trying to get by, nobody knows his past, nobody knows, he's just kind of going with the flow. Kind of interesting to see all of our characters in the Commonwealth just trying to go with the flow. It's only temporary, blah, blah, blah. And then Negan is kind of doing the same thing with this new group. And he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Fuck it. Let's just, okay, food? Cool. Can I hold my own? Yes. Can I fake it till I make it? Oh, yeah. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing. Everybody's trying to get on in the next stage of this, I don't know, Walking Dead evolution of whatever this is going to be.
So I don't know about you guys, but I hate even saying this out loud, but I'm going to anyway. I was reminded of Negan listening to Gabriel tell the story of the prodigal son.
When they were in the trailer.
During Gabriel's sermon, he's talking about the prodigal son, and it made me think of Negan because we saw him leave, and I'm sure at some point he's going to come back and have a redemption arc.
Funny that you mentioned that because I researched that. By that you mean this is the means by which he makes his way back to God or redemption or to the Father, not the
in
Father.
Maggie's good graces.
Either or.
I think
I know it hurt you so
probably
much to say
just
that.
Yeah, it really does. Like, I'm sick to my stomach right now saying these words. But, like, okay, think about it this way. Like, Maggie still wants to kill him.
I'm not sure. Do others feel that way? Do you think Maggie wants to try to kill Negan? Really?
I don't think it's top of her list anymore like it was before.
Well, no, because he's not around.
Even when they were in Meridian, I think she had kind of given, not that she doesn't still want to do it, but I think she's like, you know what, he's not going to live in my head 24/7 right now. I've got other things to worry about.
The thought of Maggie actually killing Negan never really solidified in my mind. I merely regarded Negan deciding to go away as not trusting Maggie enough to keep her promise, which she did. She had promised him that she wouldn't kill him in the campfire place thing for training. So that's really what it is. Well, Jasmine, what do you think? Do you think Maggie wanted to kill Negan?
I don't think it's at the forefront of her mind. If she kind of saw like the opportunity or the convenience, then maybe she would. I don't think it's something like she's actively like, I need to hunt down Negan and kill him. Right. But I feel like, you know, if he was in her presence constantly, if he was at arm's length, I mean, the temptation might overcome her. That being said, obviously Negan and Maggie are going to probably be working together in the next episode.
Regardless of what is actually going on in Maggie's brain, I'm thinking about this situation from Negan's perspective. If Negan sees Maggie, he better have his shit and pants on. I mean, if I were Negan, I would be. Clearly, This woman wants to kill me. So if I see her, I'm going to be nervous. So what can I do to put my mind at ease? I can try and get back in her good graces. I can try and show her that I have changed. And I have admitted several times that Negan has changed. I recognize what an asset he can be right now, and I'm fine with that. Like he is an asset. He's capable, he's strong, he's smart, he's all of these things. So he could be a really good person to have around. Maggie, unfortunately, is, you know, maybe, well, I'm making a lot of assumptions, but I think when it comes to Negan anyway, she's more emotional than rational. So it would be wise of Negan to try and get back into her good graces so that he can stop looking over his shoulder and actually start working together to rebuild a community. Or at the very least, just get the fucking target off his back, right?
I almost think it's worse. I don't think the reason why Maggie would want to kill Negan is an emotional one. As much as it's emotional for us, I think her reason's a logical one. Or at least it kind of goes hand in hand with Elijah's desire, which is emotional, to destroy the Reapers, or at least one of them, which was Carver, because he was a dick. but
he needed some killing.
Right. But Josephine, etc. Sharondy's impression, that was really funny. Josephine. I think Maggie's reasoning, because of so much time has passed and the fact that Herschel is alive, I think there's a logical reason for her, or maybe like a symbolic reason for her. Well, this is what's just gonna happen. Even if she may not even feel that way anymore. It doesn't matter that these feelings have long since passed, or that time has passed so far between the time you killed my husband. You're gonna die. It's not even an emotional response anymore. Symbolically, that's justice in her mind. And so regardless of how I feel about a thing, that's just what should happen if this world is right in her mind. And maybe to tie it more to this episode, it's what should happen. I think Lance goes after that caravan, not because of those 20-something-year-olds who died at the hands of at the caravan, whomever killed them. That's what he tells Carlson to get him motivated. It's like, okay, I'm used to that. That has happened under my watch. That hits me in the heartstrings. Lance goes, yes. As his back is turned, yes, what an asshole. I got him. So, like, even though, like, at the time when he's looking at him in the face, I actually, like, in that moment, I was like, oh, he feels bad for these kids. And he turns his back and goes, yes, emotional manipulation, yes.
Does that not indicate that Lance is potentially, like, a sociopath? Like, just no empathy, like, just complete self-centered, you know?
Well, there's acting, first of all, so there's that. There's always a bit of, you gotta play it for the audience. But there's also that other half of that, which is like, okay, bureaucrats. What are they if not grandiose? you have to be a certain way to be a politician, I think. It has less to do with gravitas than it is to be performative, let's say. You have to detach yourself in order to get the thing that you want, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, like, he's basically indicating that there's basically the suggestion that he genuinely doesn't care about them soldiers' lives that were lost. That it is just purely, to be able to use it without showing any emotion, like any true emotion, would indicate that he truly doesn't care about them soldiers.
Well, the fact that he used emotion to manipulate Carlson does sort of indicate sociopathic tendencies. I'm biased. I'm going to just say this right out front. I'm a little bit biased towards Lance, let's say, because there's a part of me that wants to believe that what he's after isn't nefarious, or the system that exists, the role that he's had to take on in order to keep things running has made him into something. He's had to keep this up. It's kind of like what we were talking about with social media, right?
I still hold that he is part of a fifth column that is trying to bring down the upper echelon of the Commonwealth. That's what his side thing is. So maybe he's doing all this.
Guns.
He's doing all this for a good reason. It's like the ring in the Lord of the Rings. You're holding this power for you intend to do good
However
with
long.
it, but no matter what, you're still going to end up making you do bad things.
But is his reason for doing, like, quote unquote good not to do good, but for his own gain? His actions are going to be good for people, but that's not necessarily his personal motives for doing that. Does that make sense?
Do you mean in general or in this specific instance? Let's clarify that first. Just in general.
Yeah, in the specific instance, in that is if he is leading like a fifth column that is aiming to take down Pamela, people are going to be happy he's doing that, and some people will see it as doing the right thing. But for him, it is all about like getting that power potentially, if that is the case.
I think it's all about his ambition, but he can frame it to other people as, oh, look, I'm helping these trodden people, and he can make himself feel better by framing it that way, even though ultimately it's really his ambition.
But then he does refer to like the Alexandria Hilltop, Oceanside as the hick communities in Virginia.
Did you say hip communities?
Hick.
Oh, hick. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what he refers to them as.
Yeah.
So obviously,
Which episode was this?
He does potentially
in this one.
believe this one.
This one?
He called
okay,
it-
I must have
yeah.
missed it. Thank you.
He obviously does believe that he's better than these people, even if he is making out that he's doing it for their good. He still believes he's better than them.
To whom does he refer to them as hick communities?
Carlson.
Carl, right?
Yeah, Carlson. Yeah.
That matters. Because he wouldn't say that to Pamela, because then otherwise, why am I doing this? Interesting. Okay. Well, it's good to know. Fine. Then what is he using for these people for? He's using these people to achieve his aims. I feel like what Lance is trying to do is, if it is a power grab, I think all he's merely trying to expose is this is actually how things are running. It's actually been me this whole time. Pamela may stay up at night wondering how to best take care of everybody, but who's been getting the shit done? Me. I think this is his way of, and this is just, again, we're wildly speculating. We have hints of what he's trying to do, but we don't know why necessarily he's doing it. Even this expansion project, we don't know why. But if I take all the pieces and put them together, I'm just seeing a guy who's saying, hey, Commonwealth, and this may not work to his advantage. Like, this is how this is actually running. Well, what about the class disparity? Oh, yeah, I was a part of that. But maybe to your point, Sharon, maybe perhaps saying in the rear view, yeah, I started this revolt group to illustrate the ills of society. That was all me also. That could be his cover for that, for people questioning him about, well, you supported this class divide. Well, no, not really. I created this revolt group for them to do their thing and challenge Pamela, let's say. I don't know.
I'm actually not so sure about like the idea that you've mentioned about him being like part of the working class and working his way up, because in the
I didn't
last
say that
episode,
per se, but
as a general idea, in the last episode, when he's talking to Pamela, when they're having that conversation where it's like, and Pamela says to him, "You've been ambitious your whole life," which kind of suggests to me that they've known each other maybe before the apocalypse. So when the Commonwealth began, I think Lance was probably in a prime position from the beginning with Pamela.
I agree.
Like if he worked his way up from anywhere, it was like the bottom of the already elite, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or he could have been an advertiser, let's say, or a marketer, let's say, and then he kind of made like a lateral move. Like he probably was in politics as like some sort of advertising person, right? but then he laterally moved into the political marketing, let's say. And he said, look, I worked my way from the bottom doing advertisements for the ice cream company, the taste of tradition. And I gradually moved my way up to this cush position where, oh, hey, Pamela, remember me and my family? You know, I worked for your father, everything, whatever.
But to say you've been ambitious your whole life kind of suggests to me that they maybe knew each other quite well.
Yeah.
You know, my initial thoughts were like, are they brother and sister? But like now I don't think that anymore.
Right.
But yeah.
But close enough to the family at pre-apocalypse.
Yeah, I think they'd have to be pretty close for Pamela to, you know, pay attention to him, especially given the fact that she indicated that she didn't have an interest in politics when she was growing up.
But I kind of want to move back to Gabriel's sermon now that you mentioned it, Rachel, like a while ago. The prodigal son returns, right? Let's talk about feelings first. Listening to Gabe's speech the first time, it's actually made me a little emotional, a little bit. I kind of was a little worried about him when we last left him in 1109, when he wasn't able to hear God again, which is not necessarily the thing I was worried about, but more like, where does my faith lie? In whom does my faith belong, let's say? Or who am I if not a man of God, but I'm really not a man of God? And then here I am, like you said, with one more, almost personifying the preacher with whom he was his like idol, let's say. He was talking to Aaron about this preacher he knew and how he wished he could be anything like him. And even when we meet him, like literally the first time we met him, I couldn't even imagine that he was anything close to the preacher that he was, his mentor was. But then you see him in this episode, oh, people clenching their butt cheeks. And then I'm like, oh, he's actually able to take this on. Like he's able to actually move past this. Something Aaron says just earlier saying, or I don't know, maybe later, it's almost like this was a bad dream. This is a nightmare, which is them trying to illustrate after you've watched this episode and you watch it again, as much as what happens here in this episode with the Commonwealth, we have to remember that it's a place where we can get some sleep. It's a place where we can put all the bad shit, an opportunity to put the bad shit behind us and heal and maybe be that next level of the person you were meant to be. Maybe The Walking Dead, I'm just throwing this out there. The Walking Dead has always been about being the person you were meant to be. But it can only take you so far until you reach the Commonwealth, where you can possibly, not under the tutelage or wardenship of Pamela Milton, but maybe like a new kind of government where you can be the self that you were meant to be, level 2, let's say, like where this isn't all there is. Like one of the things I wanted to say in the last episode was that Maggie couldn't see past today. And when did that stop happening? 6 years ago? Wasn't Rick's whole thing in Alexandria, or rather Michonne's, we need to have something more. Look to the future. And even Eugene to Rosita, you're thinking about the future, which is where he decides not to reveal Max being the Stephanie. He says, maybe I should think about the future. Maybe I have a future still if Maxine is willing to hear me out and if I forgive her and whatnot, or if I ask for forgiveness. But going back to the nightmare scenario, Maggie can't see past today. Maggie can't afford to see past today. How else is she going to be able to do that without the resources? The Commonwealth is a place to see past today into a tomorrow. When Lance is talking to her on the stoop of Barrington House, he's like saying, universities and concerts, and your son is going to be at up the creek and at a university. Can you even imagine that? And she's like, I can't even understand the language you're speaking right now, you bitch. So I'm just looking at Gabe's sermon. I'm like saying, oh, that's what that looks like, or maybe that's how it starts to look like. Look to the future, but also what is he preaching about? Or at least the initial feeling before you start peeling back the layers is he's not saying forget the past. He's saying no. Despite what the Commonwealth, all the categories the Commonwealth has assigned to you, I want you to sit next to people whom you don't know, because I don't want you to forget about The Walking Dead means the person you were meant to be. You need to remember that, and there's a reason for that. But you need to remember what was in order to embrace what will be. Because you're all family. Don't forget that. But did anybody have a similar reaction to me? Really stirred in the heart from his sermon.
Yeah, Gabe got me choked up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What about it specifically?
Yeah. Man, in the moment, I'm not really sure. It was hitting me hard for some reason. I think looking back now, I could tell that he was refinding his faith, finding himself in his roots again. It really got to me, while still carrying all these lessons that he's learned along the way too. I mean, one being Maze from One More. We hear them literally describe what happened the last time they walked into a building like this. Some guy's got a shotgun and he's firing it because you stepped on his front lawn. I'm glad that Gabriel's able to refine his faith, but also keep that suspicious mindset, I guess. That's not exactly the phrasing I want to use, but he's still cautious, I guess. He has faith, but he's still cautious.
I love it.
And
We got to keep this going.
And kind of turning into more of a badass.
Okay. Wait, let's pause for a minute. Okay, wait. We have to ask this question again. Rachel, where would you say Father Gabriel is now compared to, because we haven't asked this question in a long time. Because you used to say, he's like, if there's, if this is 0 and this is 10, I'm doing hands for the audio podcast. And he's like, he's like 2 out of 10. Where is he on the scale from 1 to 10 now?
Gaby's sitting solidly at about a 6 or 7 right now.
I knew you were going to say 6
closer
or
to
7.
a 7.
It's like, I was like hoping for
closer
like
to a 7.
8. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Every episode I see him in, I feel like he's climbing that ladder, and I'm like, all right, man, I see you now. I'm watching you, Gabe.
Heart hands.
Yeah, for real.
Wow. Because we ask this question every year. You're like, I still don't trust him. Well, he's all right. He's all right. He's getting there. After he kills Dante, he's all right. It's a solid 4. Like, okay, solid 7. I mean, sort of, almost. I think I'm in love with him 11, but like, no, for appearances, 7. Almost, maybe.
When he said,
because I saw you.
When he said, "Yeah, I'm not doing this," I legitimately laughed out loud. I was like, "Yeah, good.
I did too.
Yes, Gabe, thank you. Don't do this."
Because I
did
like
too.
being alive.
Yeah, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, I'm not doing this.
Nope.
Oh, yeah, it was good. That was good.
I feel like we got a look of what he was like with his congregation before. Because when we met Gabe, he was such a, save me, So I feel like we got...
He locked his parishioners out.
Right. I mean, I feel like we got a glimpse of what Gabe was like before, but with this new confidence, belief in himself twist to it. What he was before, but more. And I like that. I like that a lot. Gabe has definitely moved up in my estimation a lot.
See, I'm almost willing to say that I can't imagine that the Gabe we see in the church with his sermon was anything like the Gabe he was before. Like, I think he was kind of like, saying the words. I don't think he ever really connected to God or heard his voice until, much later on in Alexandria. Well, I see Jasmine nodding. What? You agree?
I agree. That is what nodding means.
Yeah. Trying to give you an opportunity. Can't fault me. I had a thought.
Oh, she's so quick.
Just one.
She's so quick. I love it.
I thought it was quite interesting that Rachel brought up obviously Maze like being like the shotgun person that Gabe described in the episode. But I almost saw it from a different perspective, in that maybe he thought of himself being like at a place where, like, because obviously Gabriel wielded a shotgun for most of season 11A, and we obviously saw him like kill some people. So I thought maybe he thought of him like himself as kind of like, there was a time when he lived out there when he lost like his own humanity, and he also was killing people with a shotgun. So I thought it could be related.
Okay.
Sure. So like he's thinking, if I was in there, here's what I would do. Right?
Yeah, if I was in there, like, with everything that happened to me, maybe I would shoot someone with my shotgun.
The takes one to know one thing. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It was one kind of interpretation.
No, I appreciate that. Now's the time where I blow your minds. It's not going to blow your mind. The sign outside the church, as Aaron's about to walk into it and Gabe's sermon ensues, comes from Joshua 2:1 to Joshua 5:12. God has already prepared the way. He's just preparing you. Now, that's an interesting thing, because you see that, what we learn from there throughout the episode. Joshua, he's a prophet in the Old Testament. He sends, obviously, what is referred to in the translation as spies, but it really is surveyors. He sends surveyors to survey the land, the people. What are we dealing with? But it's essentially spies. Before Israel's supposed to go into Israel and make it become Israel, let's say. Now, the spies were trapped, where like they went into Jericho, and they were kind of like trapped, because it's the walls of Jericho. They snuck behind the walls. In the middle of the night, what we learn is a prostitute hides them out. Now, instead of ratting them out, she hid them away to protect them from, the guards of Jericho. Now, what she does in the interim is feed them, and they actually tell her what they're doing out there, and she trembles. And she suddenly realizes the fear of God, right? Because what they tell her is all the miracles that God performed by splitting the sea and escaping Egypt, and like, holy shit, these guys have God on their side, right? Now, the whole point of that is to illustrate exactly what Gabriel's saying in his sermon. Guys, I put you next to people you didn't know because you have to remember that these people are your family. You have to remember those miracles that happened out there. Don't forget. But also, what this is also supposed to illustrate, because of Jericho's walls, when things are easy and you're protected, don't forget the miracles even though you're comfortable. Like, you remember what happened out there. That's when things were tough. But don't forget the miracles in here. Why is that important? Because you have to remember from whence all things come, and it's from God, let's say. So even when times are tougher, even when things are not tough, when things are easy, just remember why that's the case. Because of these miracles on the waters. We got the Red Sea once and the Jordan River again when the surveyors were coming in. During flood season too. He was making a point by doing that. But here's the thing, the sermon that Gabe is mentioning was from Luke 15:12. And this is where the prodigal son comes in, right? And the younger of them said to his father, and Israel is supposed to represent the younger son. The father is God. The young think they know better. They're unrestrained. They're liberal. I mean, like, in a more like, we're out there, we're doing our thing. We are self-determined people, right? This is all from us. This is God, whatever. I'm doing the thing, right? But then the son comes back and he says, Father, give me the portion of the goods that it falleth to me, which means like the natural goods, like free will, self-determination, self-sufficiency. And then God says, and he divided unto them his living. Hey, that's what you're supposed to do, right? But God kind of flips the script. And he goes, that which I gave to you, I now give to all men. He says, well, you wanted the free will, but I gave it to everybody. So whatever happens from here on in, that's not on me. It's everybody. So you have to account for everybody that you meet on your path. Like, you can always come to me for forgiveness. You can always come to me for mercy. You can always come to me to atone, let's say. But I gave free will to everybody. You want self-determination? Then you're going to have to deal with it on an even plane with all these other people whom I created. But, you can always come back to me for my protection. You can do whatever you want. That's what free will is, dude. So that's all this to illustrate. So when I look at this place that Ian and his followers, his 40 followers are, by the way, 40 days, 40 nights, right? Love that. Mm-hmm. I refer to it, the apartment that they're living in, as Jericho. This is the walls of Jericho. And Negan is shuttling in the priest. He's like, okay, you are technically, you and the dude, Carlson, went bananas, but you're technically like the spies. Now I can hold you in here, and I won't say, I'm going to give you some kindness. By the way, at the end of the story, Rahab, the prostitute, is spared from the walls of Jericho falling as a result of Israel coming in, or God's wrath rather coming in, because she had spared them and gave them kindness. She and her family were spared. Anyway, all of this to say that, kind of like on the heels of the last episode with forgiveness, Eugene was forgiven by Rosita and Abraham. He in turn forgives Maxine, and he asks for forgiveness of Maxine for being an ass. All of this kind of plays into this story here. At the end of the day, when it comes to the Commonwealth, though this bad thing happened, we have to look at things from a larger view. We have to learn how to move past this, or at least learn that even though there is a flaw, we might have to get past this because we need to all work together. 99.9% of all the people at the Commonwealth are probably really good people. So it kind of makes Maggie's story stupid a little bit. With Herschel being a man of God too, of all things too. Part of his pride was that he, you want to outlast the people who want to take you over, but at the same time, is the Commonwealth those people? Are they the same as that corporation that was trying to take her land, her farmland? I don't know. The
Walls of Jericho story that didn't jump out at me, but I did kind of think about when he was talking about, or how he made them all sit next to strangers. And the comment he made was, when we're out there, we're all family. You basically accept these people because they're going to help you fight out there. But the same thing doesn't happen inside the walls. And he was questioning, like, why not? Which they really should be closer knit, and they should be looking out for each other because, as we've seen time and time again, when you get too comfortable, shit starts flying around, and you're going to need the person next to you to be just as good a fighter as you are so that you both survive this, you know?
Or at least have faith in one another.
Well, I mean, I'd take muscle over faith if I'm actually fighting
practical.
walkers. That was kind of what struck me. He's basically telling these people, like, you know, look, don't completely ignore each other because there may come a day where you need to lean on these people you now consider strangers. You should be just as tightly knit inside these walls as you would be out there fighting and killing to protect each other.
He could be saying that to the people that came from Alexandria, even though they're not the ones in there. He could be just kind of putting that out there because they all need to stay together. And
Gabriel
now that they're in the
saying this to them?
Commonwealth, yes. Now I'm saying he's not saying it, but I'm saying this could be said to the people that he came as people from Alexandria, because now that they're in the Commonwealth, they've all been split up and sent different places and different roles. They're not the close knit group that they were, and it's because they're in the Commonwealth and they're split up. So I feel like that's something he could be saying to them. You know, don't forget that we're a family. Don't let the Commonwealth make you forget that we were a family.
You fell into my
Yeah, I like
trap.
that.
Fell into my trap. Because I'd always thought when it came to our group, the group that we've been following, that they are entering, let's say, I'm not saying they're entering the walls of Jericho, but they are kind of like the Israelites. They're strangers in a strange land called the Commonwealth, right? But what is the lesson if not? Have faith. As much as this place challenges you, I don't know, maybe it is the promised land. It may not be perfect, but if you lose faith in the fact that it could be better, or it could be the place which God ordained, or, you know, at least the writers of the show, then it will be taken from you. Because these two verses kind of go hand in hand. Don't think that it's a self-determined thing. You have to have faith. You have to believe in this place to make it work. If you lose faith in this place as a place that will work, it will fail. The funny thing is that you and I, as viewers, we're viewing this place from all directions. We're seeing how, I'm not going to say corrupted, but the fast and loose deals that need to be made to keep this thing afloat. Now, if people, and this is going to go to the crescendo of this season, if people see that, they might lose faith. And they don't, that alone can make the walls of Jericho fall. So it does make you wonder. And it does go back to a question I had asked on this show maybe a year, 2 years ago, let's say. And this question had changed the way I looked at the world fundamentally. Like, would I rather live in a world that is absolutely uncorrupt, but nothing gets done and everything is shitty? Or would I rather suffer some corruption and have things work pretty well? Now, many people have the inclination to say, no corruption and everything is shitty. And I want no corruption and that's how things should be. That's not the world, folks. The whole thing is an exercise to kind of challenge your moral framework. Hierarchies tilt towards corruption anyway. It's up to us to straighten that. But at the end of the day, it exists and it will always exist. People are self-interested people. So all I'm saying is that that's how we have to view the Commonwealth. And if we lose faith, it may be taken away from us. And then where will we be? We'll never get to that level 2 person that we're meant to be. The looking forward to the future place that we're supposed to have. We're just going to be like Maggie, you know, eking out today, which is not, it's pretty bad. Okay. Like, I don't blame her, but it's pretty bad. It's pretty sucky. I like sleep and I like maybe a chicken every night. Okay. Not just every 2 weeks, if that.
On that point though, about Maggie like choosing not to go with the Commonwealth and not like going with the flow and doing, you know, what she's supposed to do. Do we not think in some respects Gabe and Aaron are also making a mistake by not just sitting quiet and, you know, just accepting that this is happening? Because really that's, they surely know that, right, this is going to get fed back down the chain of command and, you know, this could have consequences for Alexandria and our people. And at the end of the day, they're 2 people against 12 soldiers, and they don't have guns. They could have easily died in that situation, and they could have easily wound up in a situation where, say they did survive, okay, there's now going to be consequences.
That's something to chew on. I just don't see our people being okay with that. if it didn't go down the way it did, something would have happened on the rooftop as they were chucking people off of it.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying they should agree with it, but at the end of the day, if they're, going along with the Commonwealth, playing the part for the greater good, then they probably should have been quiet.
I think the reason why they're not quiet is that none of it's justified. I think even Carlson, well, I don't know, maybe I don't know. Is Carlson still convinced that these people did the thing, that attacked the caravan? And that's actually a really good question when you really, really think about it. Is Carlson on a track, on his previous tracks? And it doesn't matter what they say. He's just doing the things he's used to doing. Or is he like still convinced that this is the thing, right? And it doesn't matter. And that people don't matter, maybe even. We're the Commonwealth. And maybe do our guys see that and say, oh, we're damned anyway, because this guy might kill us anyway. But you ask a good question.
Aaron and Gabe were the only ones who didn't know the full plan. Yes?
And Jesse.
Yeah, even Jesse didn't know. Jesse didn't know the full plan either.
Oh, and Jesse. Okay.
Did the soldiers know the full plan?
I don't think they know, and I don't think it matters.
Well, that's what I was just asking. That's what I just asked.
Do the troopers
all
just
know.
blindly follow orders?
I think
then?
they're just doing what they're told. I don't think they know.
Or are these specifically like, as in, are these just like regular troopers, or are these like Lance's special troopers that specifically kind of?
I think
are
they're
on
just regular
Lance's side?
troopers.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant when I just asked, was Gabe and Aaron the only ones that didn't know? Like, I assumed, well, obviously Toby knew what was going on, but I would have to assume that the soldiers also knew what Toby was planning to do, because like he needs them to back up.
Oh, okay.
He needs their backup when he starts killing people, or
Right.
is he just going to assume that when they see him shooting, they're gonna be like, oh, time to shoot, pew pew pew. Like I feel like there needed to be a little conversation beforehand.
I'm kind of agreeing with Sharon. There's two specific reasons why. One is what we just saw in the last episode. Mercer says to Daryl, you got to fall in line like the rest of these people, right? Everybody has their role to play.
They're always
There's a bigger
watching.
reason. Yeah, they're always right. And it doesn't even matter if they're always watching. It's the just like religion, which is heavy throughout this episode, which binds and blinds, binds people together, but also blinds people to any other way. It also blinds them from their own ambitions, let's say, or what we're talking about, naturalism, like the self-determination, self-sufficiency, etc. Like, okay, but everything of mine is from God. But it applies to soldiers as well. The second point is it's not just about falling in line, and it's not just about that. What is the trooper class? This actually emboldens my theory about the trooper class. What is the trooper class if not a means to escape poverty? And what would you do to achieve that? Who would you follow? Anybody, because you're making a difference and you're getting paid for it and you're not starving and you're valued. You're actually valued for what you do.
And is it like Milgram's theory of just where you blindly follow orders because a person in a position of authority told you to do them, which is heavily associated with any military ever, not just the Commonwealth, not just The Walking Dead.
Precisely.
So
Milgram was illustrating that that's inherent with everybody, though, not just in a military capacity, which I loved.
Yes. But that kind of ideology is used a lot to control.
Yeah. But you're illustrating a very good point, though, because the appeal to authority, well, there's the appeal to authority fallacy, but then which is what was trying to debunk Milgram, but we do appeal to authority. Like, there is that factor, when given the option to do the right thing, we tend to follow authority because it's proven, or because it's just what's above us, because we fear consequences, etc., or we fear to stray from the pack. Which, of course, what is a trooper if not the pack?
That's more going on to like social normalization theory.
Right. But they all follow.
Yeah. You all do the same thing. It's until like one person steps out of line that other people actually start to think that they can.
Yes, exactly. Which is to Mercer's point in the last episode. So Rachel, that's the only reason why I don't think the troopers even know. They just see a man who is in charge and says shoot, and they better shoot because that's how they're trained. I mean, that's Mercer actually when you think about it. But I don't blame them because that's what they're supposed to. For all they know, these people still did it. It doesn't even matter if they did or didn't do it. We're here to do a job. We're here to follow orders. We are your tools.
So really, they went into this situation and only Toby Carlson knew what was going to happen. So,
Yeah.
okay, so that was my original question. Were Gabe and Aaron the only ones who didn't know?
And
But
Jesse, yeah.
That now you're saying that
Oh, no,
that's
everybody
not the
didn't know
case,
except
that
for
only
Carlson knew.
So only Carlson knew. So nobody knew what was going to take place in this building except for Carlson. That was my question.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Did Carlson at any point tell the soldiers, hey, here's what's going to go down. I need you to, be ready to shoot if it comes, when this happens. Like, this is going to happen. Be ready when it happens. Or did he just say, fuck it, I'm going to do whatever I want, and fingers crossed that they have a faster trigger finger than the bad guys?
It's funny. I feel like they don't even like him because of what he does to Crow.
Right.
Sergeant Crow. Like, are you there? Over. Yeah, I'm fucking there, dude. God, what? But when told to shoot. That's what they do.
I mean, nobody likes that commanding officer in the army. It's a known rule. But you still do
follow.
everything they say.
Yep. Which is to say, like, okay, that really, because I don't like talking about the next episode, but at the same time, I see other people entering the building, like Carol, and then Mercer's there somewhere, and
I think Carl's in a different building. I don't think.
I have that feeling too, like, oh, it doesn't have to be the same building, whatever. But regardless of the fact, like, what if Mercer gets involved? Who is he going to side with? And will he just follow his training? This could be the thing that splits our group apart, and this could be the thing that gets some of them killed too, because this is something we've been avoiding. Like, I mean, Alden is one thing, but then, like, one of our main characters, what if Gabe dies? What if Aaron dies?
The thing is, though, I don't see... Say they do, like, send backup in and Mercer and Daryl and Rosita shows up. I don't think even, like, with everything, like, with all the training they've done and everything, I still don't think they'd just be like, yeah, okay, I'll just shoot my friends. You might believe that Maggie's maybe done something bad because we've seen Maggie do something bad with the Reapers. But when you've got Aaron and Gabe stood next to her, you really think, like, Daryl's going to take the other side?
Well, I feel like the people that probably are in most peril are Gabe and Aaron because they saw what actually happened. And if it came down to Carlson versus them two, even if they knew the truth, I think they may have a stink about it. They may fight out. They might fight. But if they start pulling knives and guns against anybody that challenges them or tries to kill them, because Carlson, that could be disastrous for them. Because look, you were told to follow orders. They didn't know. Let's just be honest. They didn't know what was going to happen. That they were part of a black op or something. But at the same time, that's not what it says on the papers. Or I don't know, at least Carlson's papers. And then, okay, then that opens up a whole other can of worms, because if there are more troopers, I don't know, I'm assuming, that are coming down to back up the troopers that are already down there, that means Mercer is going to be involved, because remember, his authority was circumvented 2 episodes ago. So he may want to know what the fuck is going on down here. And he might be either at a turning point, I hope, because if he gets on, that's bad for us, for all of us. Because he's just going to follow the chain of command. I don't know if Carlson's above him or below him, but he might be below him. He is General fucking, that's his title, General fucking Mercer.
Well, I was just sitting here thinking that if Carlson was the only one privy to the entire plan here, Lance could play dumb and say, what? Carlson did what? Oh my gosh. And like act like he had no idea what Carlson was going to do.
I'm praying you're right.
He could definitely deny knowledge.
With the knowledge that he was prior CIA and that he's a little unhinged, he could use that, right?
The drinking.
Sure.
Thank you for saying that. Whew.
Sure. Now, with that being said, what does that mean for our Commonwealth reinforcements showing up? Are they coming to help Carlson in his efforts, or are they coming to neutralize the situation Carlson has caused?
Right. What are the casualties, right? Or the collateral damage, let's say. Because now they're in something, right? Because now they caused something. This is like, I hope they don't do something like socio-political here. Like, the U.S. was trying to bring democracy, and look what happened. So like, whatever. Well, now we got to clean this mess up by killing everybody.
Well, and then and then we have to ask, like, okay, let's pretend Mercer and his reinforcements show up because they heard Carlson went crazy. Oh my gosh, this soldier went nuts. He's killing people. He's throwing people off buildings. We need you to go down there and fix this situation. So Mercer and his gang show up and they take out Carlson and or maybe other soldiers that try to fight back, or I don't know. Maybe they're like, oh yeah, man, he's crazy. I'm so glad you showed up. We didn't know what to do, or who knows. But then what do they do?
It doesn't matter if he's crazy. You follow his orders. Anyway, sorry.
Well, yeah. I mean, the soldiers that are left there with Carlson are like, we're supposed to be following him, but so we did, but he's a little unhinged. So
I'm sure Mercer would have understood.
I'm sure if Mercer showed up and was like, Carlson is not doing what the Commonwealth wants, I think everyone would be like, okay, Mercer, thank you for telling us.
Absolutely. I think Mercer's authority trumps Carlson's. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Absolutely agree. Yeah. But I'm wondering if they come in and they neutralize the Carlson situation, what's going to happen to the rest of the residents in this building? Were they instructed to bring them back? Were they instructed to silence them?
Well, Negan's got plot armor, so...
Well, yeah. I'm not worried about him, but everybody else he's with, what happens to them?
Right. The collateral damage. Do they get in? Do they go through the screening process, or do they get through the firing squad process?
And it's pretty clear they don't have the guns. Is that right? They don't.
Yes,
they absolutely don't have.
They do not have
guns.
the guns. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
And Gabe is saying, "I hope."
Well, now you
have
say
the
you
guns.
don't think so, right? I wasn't. By the end of the episode, that wasn't clear to me whether they did or did not have them.
Yeah, I don't think they do, which makes us all the more awful.
Okay, so now we gotta ask ourselves, where are these fucking guns?
And what I said in the beginning was, I have a feeling Leah Shaw has something to do with this.
Yeah, Leah probably has something to do with that.
Oh
Now,
my
if
God.
that's the case,
That's terrible. I mean, I get it.
If
Listen, I thought it.
If that's the case, I think it's safe to say that Leah probably found some other survivors herself, because do we think she could pull off an attack like this on her own?
Because the tracks, right? Oh, no, I don't think so.
I don't think she could pull it off on her own. I mean, she's capable and a badass, but I think she found a handful of other people to help her out with this, if it is in fact her.
Look, there are 3 tracks. One could have been the Ferals. No, one is definitely those religious people. One is something else. But what's the third track? As little visibility as that armor provides the Commonwealth soldiers, limited in movement.
Yeah.
I could see a Ninja Leah Shaw taking some of them out, but not all of them.
They never said how many were in the convoy either. They just said they were a bunch of 20-somethings. They didn't say there could have been 6, there could have been 10. I mean, she could take out 4 or 6 probably.
Well, the word he used was caravan, which means more than one. So which means how many are guarding that It has to be at least 2. Or maybe 3. And how many people are guarding that caravan? At least 10, maybe more.
Yeah.
4 per side per vehicle.
Yeah, I definitely imagine that it'll be a group that have taken out the caravan.
So the 3 Commonwealth soldiers that Maggie almost hits, were they from the caravan or were they from the apartment complex? Because if they were from the caravan, that could have been another set of tracks.
The one with his throat cut was the one that the lady with Negan stabbed in the throat. So I'm pretty sure that
so
they're
those
from the
3
apartment.
soldiers had come from the apartment complex. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I think.
All right. I was just wondering if we were seeing any evidence of this attacked caravan, because we didn't see it anywhere, right? No bodies, no.
Well, we never got to see
We
the
didn't
convoy, caravan, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Somewhere else.
Okay.
Somewhere
making sure
clearly
I didn't
else.
miss something.
No. And that's the troubling thing, too. We don't know who did this. It's definitely not the city of Jericho. It's definitely not. We don't know who this is. That's still in the air.
One possibility that I had thought of was, say that Lance isn't associated with the resistance whatsoever. Potentially one of the soldiers that was supposed to be guarding the caravan maybe took out the other soldiers, or 2 or 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And them soldiers are part of the resistance, and then they've taken these guns to another location and kind of run off with them. It's just a possible idea.
So it might not have even been an outside attack. It was internal.
An attack.
Yeah.
Wow. So everything that
makes a lot of sense.
So Lance was sending Toby Carlson, to the slaughter, potentially. If he did kill all these people, he has a smokescreen, right? But if he doesn't, then he has a scapegoat. Guy's unhinged. You got my people killed or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? It makes, our caravan got hit, and we sent this guy to root out the people that did it, and they got killed. Pamela, I need reinforcements here because fuck this shit, Meanwhile, they could have all been guns, like you said, Jasmine. They could have all been guns that were meant to get hit. because Lance is part of Resistance. Ooh, I like that. I kind of like Leah Shaw better, but I like that even better. Sorry, I like as that makes more. That is something that nobody would have thought of because of Leah. I think that she's out there. She's out there. You wouldn't think that the enemy would be from in there. Okay. MVP.
It's more of like a nitpicky kind of funny thing, but like when the Jesse came riding in at the beginning of the episode, like dripping in blood, and Lydia went over to him. It took all the way until Lydia got to him to be like, "Oh, he's been shot!" Like the blood, the masses of blood pouring out of him wasn't a giveaway. She had to get right up close to see that he'd been injured.
Well, she could have been checking for a bullet wound versus a walker bite, right?
Or being covered in blood as a matter of not getting attacked by walkers.
Exactly. Or maybe it was a fake. Maybe he was faking
You're gonna
it.
shout for help a little bit sooner, I guess.
I don't know. To be totally honest, when I saw him riding up, yeah, when I saw him riding up, okay, let's go through the whole thing here. When I first saw him riding up,
let's do this now.
Yeah, if we're doing it, let's do it. When I first saw him riding up, I'm like, how the fuck is Percy still alive? And then I realized it was not Percy. And then I saw him all covered in blood. Right? Yeah. He has similar hair. But then I saw him covered in blood, and like you said, Jasmine, Lydia starts running over there, and I'm like, no, Lydia, what the fuck? Stop. He's clearly faking so that you will run over there, and he's going to grab you and hold you at knife point, obviously. And then she's like, oh, he's shot. And I'm like, oh, okay, he really is
that's what
hurt.
you'd have done, Lydia.
I didn't believe him for a second. I didn't even think he was hurt.
So you really didn't? Oh, that's funny. Wow.
Yeah.
I realized there was one more thing I wanted to talk about that preceded that. Come on, guys. We didn't say this at all. Marco.
I know. I screamed Marco as soon as I saw him. I screamed and clapped. Yeah. Oh, I was so excited.
I don't understand.
Don't remember.
Marco. Him and Elijah were
Marco
playing,
is the guy Elijah was talking
playing.
to at the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't even realize.
Yeah. Marco and Elijah.
Marco.
Okay.
Which also, them having this shootout competition, didn't that kind of remind you of Rodney, Gage, and Addie a little bit? The top of the walls of Hilltop, a little bit?
And that made me think of Legolas.
Remember
and
when
Gimli
they meet?
When were they?
from Lord of the Rings.
And my axe!
That counts as two!
I was just so excited to see Marco.
No, but I actually thought of kids at the top of the wall of Hilltop. I thought of that. I thought of them talking about, oh, somebody's hot, and oh, I don't know, and things like that. Enid, oh, she's kind of cute. I don't know. Anyway, it reminded me of the way it used to be, but obviously it's not.
Because Elijah was flirting with Lydia pretty hard.
Yes, that's the common thread.
That was kind of cute. And he's like, "Do you want an escort?" And she's like, why?
What is that?
I was like, yeah, get it, girl. It was funny.
It's well, I kind of like that. Kind of cute.
They are cute, but as soon as they have any sort of romance, one of them will
Elijah's
die.
Dead.
So, yeah, Elijah's dead.
Lydia's got some plot armor, I think, right?
Does she?
I don't know.
I don't think anyone has plot armor except Negan, Maggie,
Daryl and Carol. That's it.
Rick, Michonne.
Rick? No. Michonne? No. They're not on the show. Fuck them.
But they're alive. We know they're alive.
Do we?
And as long as they're not on the show, we can assume they're alive.
The phone that Aaron took out to show pictures on, right?
The old ass iPhone?
That's an upgrade. That's an upgrade from the last photos he showed to our group in season 5.
But it made me think of Michonne finding the etching of her and Judith on the phone.
Judith, yeah.
As an adult, well, not adult, but not a baby. Believe a little longer, Aaron.
I just want to say that Maggie's going after her mans. Going to save her mans.
Except she thinks she's saving Aaron and Gabe.
Doesn't matter. She's still going to save her man.
She's saving Aaron. I feel like I'm pulling more towards Rachel every day in a way. I don't know if I because I think it's mostly because of them announcing the spin-off series. Because now, I can feel comfortable railing against it. Because okay, we made fun, but we didn't think anything would happen. Even when the show reminds you, or even when the showrunners remind you, guys, the spin-off isn't a romantic. They're not getting. At the same time, I'm like, how can they not?
I never ever said anything about romance.
I know.
Never.
I know. Hate bang.
Quite the
Hashtag
opposite,
hate bang.
actually.
Yeah. Even still, now I can, like, I don't know what it is when people obviously fall into certain positions where it's like, okay, this is making me feel awkward. And I know that it exists now. So now I know they're surviving. Now I can feel like hate towards it. Or like, I don't know, maybe not so much comfort in the making fun of things. Because, right, it was fun. It was fun when we didn't know what was going to happen. Now that we know what's going to happen, I'd be like, okay, this was fun in games. It's for
I still
artists.
think it's hilarious.
Because it
Speak
was
for
ridiculous.
yourself,
Right.
my friend.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now I'm like,
I'm on Team Sharon.
wait, they end up on a show together? What is going on here? Fucking hell. I do want to end off on one note if we are all wrapped up, I think. The reminder of Luke 15:12 at the end of the sermon was really that I gave free will to everybody, so in self-determination and self-sufficiency. You're all the same. Israelites and non-Israelites alike. You're all the same. But if you're willing to come to me, if you believe, I'll do my thing. I'll do my God thing. But the point is that you're all the same, which is basically what he's trying to tell the people in his church. We're all the same, which is to say, it doesn't matter if you're part of the Commonwealth or not. We're all the same. We're all just trying to protect our people. We're not animals, Carlson. We all want the best for our people. You have to remember that. You have to remember what it was like out there. You have to remember what it's like in here. That yes, it may be easy, but you have to remember where we came from. The miracles apply whether you're safe or not. So it's important to remember as we move forward when we're dealing with the Commonwealth and all the shady shit that's going on, that this is the last bastion. It is Israel here. This is the promised land. This is where we're going, people. This is it. Hell or high water. Literally, Jordan. Flooded river, Jordan. Anyway, and with that, everybody, thank you for joining us for another episode of Squawking Dead, a rushed episode, albeit a pleasant one. If you like what you heard, head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead and give us 5 stars as an eggplant. It's all we need to know that you love us. But tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like, but tell us after every episode. And if you like the journey that we're on, albeit an early journey, because we're going to pandemic, and you want to be a part of what we're doing here, this family that we're trying to build, this Commonwealth, if I may, head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead and just follow us. You don't have to buy us a coffee for 30 days of supporter-backed content. You don't have to join a membership tier for as little as $1 to get the unedited episode recordings, the ability to join us in these recording sessions, or any of the other various perks at even the baseline level, or the ability to join us on stream like Jasmine did today, or the ability to get 50% off merch. You just have to follow us. When you feel like taking part, we're here for you when you need us. Just like God is. When you need him, because we all have free will, and that's all I'm saying. You don't have to do anything you want to do, but we're here when you want to participate. We're always here. Take care, everybody. I've been your host, David Cameo. I'm joined by Cosmom09, Rachel Burt, Sharon D.K. Blazy Gardner, and Survivors tier member Jasmine, which is also at jasmine.iac on Instagram. Take care, everybody. We'll see you at Fandemic, and hopefully this episode will be released sometime sooner rather than later. Pray for me, I guess. Take care, everybody. We'll see you very, very soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Say goodbye, Jasmine. You make it good. You make it good, Jasmine. You make it very
So,
good.
is this a safe space? Because I feel very attacked.
Thank you again for joining us for another episode of Squawking Dead. And this episode has been brought to you by our tier members, which you can join as well. It's a means of supporting us, but also it's a way of joining the family, getting behind the scenes perks, the ability to join us in the recording sessions, the unedited episode recordings, the ability to join us on Jackbox games, as well as getting 50% off the merch store. And if you are privileged enough, you can join the Survivors tier where you can actually join us in our episode breakdowns, like these people who are let's start with jasmine.iac on Instagram, who joined us for this episode, lending us her thoughts, as well as Elisa Jones 71 on Instagram, ko-fi.com/fanartlindy. We've got ex-prophecy girl on Twitter, that's Bridget. and none other than at Real Ryan GM on Twitter. These folks get the highest perk tier. They get to join us in the episode breakdowns. They make these episodes possible, and they get a lot of privileges. Let me tell you, especially in our Discord. But let's not forget about our numerous Whisperers tier members at Judith.Morton on Instagram, at Aiden the Raven on Twitter, at Tyler Phillip Cox on Twitter and Instagram, at RiasFan2 on Twitter and Instagram, at Frosted Angel 67 on Twitter, at Sandy.D.Morrison on Facebook, and someone who joined us just after we finished our premiere. So they technically slid in under the wire and joined us just after we premiered this on YouTube, which, by the way, you can follow us on youtube.com/squawkingdead, where we premiere our episodes first and then upload the audio to our podcasts second. So you should be subscribing to our YouTube page at J13Voorhees. That's J13VOORHEES on Twitter and Instagram. Newest tier member, but longtime listener, longtime friend, whom I love. In any case, thank you again. As always, head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawkingdead and give us 5 stars and an eggplant. Just let us know if you love us. But if you want to write more, like, tell us what you liked, tell us what you didn't like, tell us what you'd like to see more of, tell us what you'd like to see not so more of, but tell us after every episode. But again, if you just follow us at ko-fi.com/squawkingdead, let me say that again, ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. You'll be in the know at least. You don't have to join a membership tier, really. You don't have to tip us a coffee for 30 days of supporter pack content. You just have to follow us, and when you feel like jumping in, there's no pressure. We're not going to make you do anything you don't want to do, but if you feel like it, you can do either of those things. I would recommend joining a membership tier because it's literally $1 a month, and you get a bunch of baseline tiers, and it really just sends us a signal that we're on the right track, that we're doing something worthwhile. I'm your host, David Cameo. I was joined by Cosmom09, Rachel Burt, Sharon D, aka Blaze Gardner, and Survivors tier member Jasmine.iac on Instagram. We'll see you in the next one very soon. Glad to be back from Fandemic, breaking down episodes with you every week, pretty much. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.